Caution remains warranted with regards to the stocks. Stocks have pulled back about 11.5% as measured by the S&P 500 since early January. Historically, declines of over 10% are a good time to be adding money to stocks unless we have a recession. Generally, when a recession occurs, stocks have historically gone down by over 20%, which is the measure for a bear market. So the key here is, are we going to have a recession? The tragedy in the Ukraine, as the Russian invasion has started to target cities, is much worse than most analysts originally anticipated. Most analysts did not envision an attack on the civilian population, and this is a great tragedy. The U.S. and its Western allies have responded with sanctions with regard to payment systems and other items, and this is going to have some severe economic ramifications. The situation in Europe, given the lack of commodities, energy, food, Ukraine and Russia are both big food suppliers, metals, these are going to create a very problematic situation for Europe. Economic activity is driven by energy, and these other items are essential inputs. We're looking at a very likely severe recession in Europe, and the question then becomes, does it spill into the United States? If it spills into a global recession, the current stock prices are probably not the bottom, and we probably have another 10 to 15% down to get to the general recession pullback for stocks given a recession. Now, the question with regard to recession is still unknowable. I would put the odds at about 50-50 currently. The magnitude of the sanctions and its true impact through the supply chain is very unknowable. I don't confess to say that I do know we're going to have a recession. I just think the risks are such that one should remain cautious. As you know, I did raise cash from November through January. I was thinking about putting that money back to work, but given the severity of the war in the Ukraine and the sanctions being placed, I am more cautious now than I would have originally thought this war would have turned out to be. We have a couple of additional risks that are still unknowable. The risks are to the downside. The first being that the war drags on and potentially spreads beyond the Ukraine. We are all hopeful that does not occur. Two, the sanction impact ends up being more severe than we anticipated. The impact on Europe is going to be very severe, without a doubt. What happens with commodity supplies, energy prices across the globe? Does that push the global economy into recession outside of Europe? That is very possible and worth taking a look at. The other item is that the sanctions are U.S.-led Western sanctions. These are not UN-backed sanctions. The U.S. is indicating to China that they expect the Chinese to follow these U.S. sanctions, even though China is a sovereign nation and also an emerging global power. It's going to be very interesting to see how China reacts to that request, or whether they just ignore the sanctions. And if they do ignore the sanctions, what is the U.S. response going to be? So the possibility of the sanctions turning into a larger global problem with the key Chinese economy involved in sanctions creates an additional element that we just don't know, but it is an additional downside risk. So bottom line, I'm not going to redeploy cash at these levels. I am remaining cautious. I am still doing some activity. I have trimmed some of my precious metals and other metals, energy stocks into this ramp for those items. That's from a portfolio management side. They've gotten too big part of my portfolio. I've had a couple of items that I've looked at. Most I've passed on. As I did mention, I did buy PayPal for the first time last week, and I think that is something that looks interesting here for the longer term, given it's pulled back from over 300 now to a little under 100. So a big pullback there. So remain cautious. If you like this video, please like it and share it and forward it if it came to you in an email. We have more information on buildingbenjamins.com, including our full disclaimer. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.